My name's Howard Glavin. I'm with K3DES. Let's get into the hybrid assessment and what PCI really is. Assessments, on-site assessments. Let's think about that. I go to the on-site assessment. I walk into the office space. I have the project manager for PCI. They're sitting right next to me. And on the room in front of me, there's this great big screen. The screen's talking to people. There's only 2 of us in the room. I traveled halfway around the world to do this. Is that an on-site assessment? No, that's a remote assessment. I'll even give you something better. Just recently, about a month and a half ago, I was on site at a data center. Data center manager chose not to show up that day. But the head of desktop support was there. He knew nothing about the data center. I went in to do the data center. I physically saw stuff, but the person who knew all the labeling and everything that I could talk to, he wasn't there. He was on the phone. He was remote, and that was 2 days later. Remote assessment. PCI is really big about talking about you have to be on site. No, they'll tell you, you've heard it in the meetings already, on site. What is on site? What is remote? In today's world, there truly is nothing that is a real on-site assessment. You may get into a room with 10 or 12 people and there's 40 more people in the background all around the globe talking to you. This is where all of this comes into play. When we're talking about what we're going to walk away from here today is what is a remote assessment? What is an on-site assessment? Really, all we are really doing anymore are hybrid assessments. And that, I don't care what firm you're with, there's always somebody going to be remote. And this does change the manner in which we have done assessments in the past. Pre-COVID, most of the work, everybody was in rooms, everybody was there. You traveled to the different sites, you did everything, you were on the road 50 weeks out of the year, if you were lucky, 52 if you were unlucky and you had Christmas. Yes, I've spent Christmas on the road every holiday but Thanksgiving. That's the only one my wife insists I'm home for. And after 54 years, you understand that if you're not home on that day, you better find a way to appease her. Large diamonds, big cars, large houses, big vacations, things like that. When we're done today, we're going to have at least a better understanding of how to conduct a hybrid assessment. Come on, there we go. The on-site assessments we talked about, the remote assessments, they're a very difficult thing to do. How many in here are QSAs? Just by a show of hands? Cool. How many of you as QSAs pre-develop your questions before you do either a remote or an on-site assessment? Cool. Guess what's happening on the other side of the companies you're doing? They're prepping the same way you are. They're going to get that script down hard and cold. And if you have the head of the department on and you have other people within that environment, the scope is going to go all over the place. 2 things will happen. They'll try to micromanage it with the head of the PCI, and they pick the nuances within the requirements. So they'll go, in the case of PCI 4.0, they'll go to 3.3.2.4.1.a. Number doesn't really exist beyond the .2. But they get down to that, and they're going to have an interview on just that topic. So now you're in a little microcosm of a little bit of information when you need this much information from 27 different people. So now you're going to have 27 different meetings, all by GoToMeeting, Teams to Meeting, Microsoft Meeting, Yahoo Meeting, I don't care what they are. Everybody's on a screen. Now, there's no one in here that has not been on a remote meeting with somebody that isn't doing 3 or 4 different things. The last thing you're doing is paying attention to the meeting. When your name's called, you might speak. Other than that, you're hoping that if your boss is in the meeting, he's going to speak. The rehearsed scripts come out. We have heard a lot of recent conversations about certain people in the media giving alphabet soup. when they speak. Long phrases about nothing. Pay attention to that. People who lie, not that they would intentionally lie, but people who do not know the truthful answer tend to give very long descriptions of what they're doing in hopes that you'll find something that is correct. That's the way life is. When you're face to face, you can look at them and they're looking down or they're fiddling, you know right off the bat. So you just sit there and wait and wait and wait and wait. And when they're done, you ask the question again. When you're remote, you can't see that. So now we have to talk about the interview techniques. And that brings us to the needle in the haystack. The needle in the haystack is you're out to find the facts, not hear the muddle in between. The facts in PCI DSS 4.0 are very, very interesting. We as a company have now completed one full 4.0 rock, working on the second one. The time to write is extraordinarily long. Although they thought by putting numbers and things in the reporting format, it was going to make it easier on us, it's made it more complex because now we've got to correlate mundane numbers to things that you would typically in the 3.2.1 or anything before that, all the way back to 1.0, had a name to it. So now configuration 7 is really Microsoft 2016. Now 2016, we all know about that and the service pack and all that. We can talk to that all day long. If we're talking about configurations, we're talking about hardening and hardening standards. Now we got to equate config 17.4 to Microsoft's 2016. And all those things take up a lot of time in building the whole presentation. We have to talk about what are the company's practices on work from home. Is it truly work from home or is it work from anywhere? One of our customers about 4 months ago when I was talking with them, I just, out of curiosity, asked the gentleman I was talking to, where was he? He was in Belize, on the beach, talking about how he was operating and managing the developers. The developers were all in India. They were all on the phone. Not one of them would speak up. No, even call by name. Well, Harry, and I'm just using an arbitrary name for it, Harry has the answer to that question. Please, Harry, could you tell them how you do this? Harry's sitting in Belize. I know I'm getting a song and dance. And you go down that path, you have to work it. When they're working from home, we have to think about the devices they're using. Work from anywhere. View it at that at the best possible situation. Now do they permit split tunnels? I mean, we heard the security metrics here about hacking. And one of the displays on the showroom floor, frankly, has security starts at the screen. That's absolutely incorrect. Security starts at the keyboard. Think about that. Split tunnel, I take over your computer because you were out searching any of the sites after the shopping channel or whatever, and you're working on the secure network of your network doing configurations. I compromise you. I jump in, follow that path all the way down. I collect your session cookie as you do it. You go do whatever you want to do, and I'm now you forever. 4.0 makes some concessions about that. It makes it a little harder to do, but not impossible to do. So we have to know what the requirements are. What are the driving orders? Does work from home require them to be in a private area? Not uncommon with when you're doing interviews from work from home and they're up on the screen, they turn their cameras on because that's part of their requirements. And you watch the children in the background. You watch the husband come in and adjust the camera for the wife because she doesn't quite know how to do it. You watch all of the roommates in the background, all of them on their computers, and you're viewing their screens. How secure is your work environment? How do you handle that? BYOD. Has anybody here run into BYOD as an assessor? I have. Bring your own device. That's what it stands for. I can tell you in my FBI days on BYOD, I would promise my boss if they had BYOD, I would get them 12 to 15 more convictions. And everybody would plead guilty. Why? Because everything the family and anybody else on that computer was doing is now public record at the time of breach. So all the checking accounts, all of the interactions, all the boyfriend, girlfriend, all of the children out there, all of the young adult males out there on all the porn sites. I mean, you got to think about it that way. I mean, it's silly, but that happens. All of that now is public record in the courtroom. BYOD is a kiss of death to any company that permits it. But you have to take that into account. Hardening, you can't harden it. You can't tell them what they can and can't do with their equipment. But guess what happens if it's seized as part of forensics? They lose it. You can't defend them. You have to defend yourself. Now, are you obligated to replace it for them? Because I can tell you, whatever they had is going to be the most expensive computer you ever bought in your life. So we understand the rules of engagement. Step 2, what can we do and what we should do from work from home? We talked a lot about these things, but we have to find that needle in the haystack. We have to know the rules of engagement. We have to be able to control those rules of engagement to allow them to map what we're trying to do. Remember, our goal is to find out the truth of what's going on. Not the chatter they want to give us, not the chatter they think we want to hear, but what the true facts are. We're assessors. We are not auditors. Our goal is to be their advocate on their report. To get that, we must be able to unpeel that onion all the way back to understand where the issues are. Show them a remediation path to get it, follow them on doing it, get them compliant, report it, and be their advocate downstream. Work from home, what's permitted by law. So solving the puzzle. Preparation for the interviews. We must have our questions there. Now, a normal question that you can, most clients see, and I'll just give you an arbitrary one. All your cardholder data is encrypted. Is there anybody in this room that would answer no? I mean, you were stupid enough to ask a stupid question, you're going to get the stupid answer. So a good way to ask that is, where do you have cardholder data that is not encrypted? Like email. My favorite topic. If any of our customers have email in scope, we quit. I leave. Goodbye. It's a physical impossibility to do it. You're not going to do it. I don't care how you work it. Corporate email, PST files, archive files, you're never going to get it compliant. I don't have enough life cycles left. Develop your questions. Think of them in the negative content, or explain to me how you do something. And sit and listen. The best interviewers aren't the ones that talk. They're the ones that listen. Review each of the requirements. Make sure that in the interview sessions, you have all of the representative forums that are required there to cover it. Piecemealing requirements, you'll miss all the connectors. So if you're talking about data flows, make sure that everybody that's responsible, the DBAs, the business users, the third-party service providers that are out there and haven't given an AOC and a responsibility matrix under 4.0. 3.2.1 was real easy. All you had to have was, quote, an AOC. We as a company always dug under the covers and always asked, where's the responsibility matrix? To the chagrin of a lot of our customers and the service providers, but we eventually got what we were looking for. What are you responsible for individually? What are you responsible for grouply? And what is the company responsible for individually? They all are part now. Service providers right now, when they see 4.0, they're running wild and afraid of even getting PCI compliant. They would rather sit in on each and every interview and not have to go through that problem. But now you're getting a different story every time. Every service provider. Have your questions ready to go. Scheduling. Scheduling. If you're going to do development, and it's a large company, they're going to have development, they're going to have a QA, they're going to have a test process, they're going to have a production escalation methodology, they're going to have a queue where everything gets pushed. There's change management's all part of that. All of that should be in that interview process. When they're talking, listen. Listen for the little hums. You know, somebody's in there and they're trying to think about the right way to respond. It's I'm gonna, yes, wait a minute. Jerry, can you answer that question? Jerry gets caught blindsided. I love Jerry's responses because Jerry normally at that point, he's gonna give you the right answer. And you're gonna be able to work it. Multitasking people cannot concentrate what's going on. You have no way of asking them not to multitask. They're going to do it. You have to ensure you get everything you need. Do you understand the questions you asked? That's a good one. Do you really understand what that question was? Explain to me your data flow and tell me what each connectivity line means in the protocol used. That's a question I ask a lot of times. What does that mean to the guy that built the data flow diagram compared to the application developer, compared to the business user? Well, we get the data and we put it here. That's the business. Well, what do you do with the data after you get it? Well, it goes to the database. Okay. And perchance, does it go anywhere? Well, yeah, we have this little Excel spreadsheet that we handle and use for all the fraud, and we pass it around internally through the email system and chat, and all the banks and the Visa cards give it to us, so there's nothing wrong with that. We get it that way unencrypted. Wait a minute, time out, guys. We got a major problem now coming out. You have to couch your questions so that you get the responses that you're working for. You have to understand the data received and how to interpret it. Different cultures give you the same data in different formats and languages. The Asian culture is very polite in the data they give you. They're going to give it to you in word salad, and you have to decipher it. No disrespect intended, but if you don't understand that, you may not understand what you get, and you have to be able to do that. And if you're in meetings, chat sessions, are the meetings recorded? Those become working notes if they're recorded sessions. Make sure you capture it. Requirement 4.0 is you keep all your working notes. Understanding the data received during the interviews, again, look for the evidence. Look for what you need. Don't quit until you get what you're looking for. Controlling the data received to ensure that you get the evidence you require. Same thing, package backwards. Goes to your question set. Ask the question generally on tough topics 3 times, 2 in the forward position, asking them positively, 1 time in a negative position, and don't ask them in sequential order. Sequential order will give you the script they pre-rehearsed. Short and sweet. Nothing wrong with the script. They're doing the best they can to make that 1-hour meeting 52 minutes so they can get 8 minutes back in their life. Or 10 minutes back in their life. And when you dig and you run over in the meeting, it's just like if I ran over here, I'm going to get chastised. And so you have to work your data. Step 9, how do you sort what evidence is missing? This is the tough one. On 4.0, you better have some type of tracking document, Excel spreadsheets, trackers, diagrams, templates, things that you're going to work to make sure that you have all of the evidence necessary to prove yourself successful. Don't kid yourself. The only thing PCI is useful for is when a breach occurs and you as the assessor can walk into the courtroom and you can raise your right hand and say you did your very best due diligence, and that at that point in time, everything was as you found it. That's it. That's what it's all about. TRAs, in particular, are all about that now under the new one. Trust but verify. Don't sit in these interviews with blinders. If they have cameras up, look, observe. Like I mentioned, look at the graphic there. What's going on those laptops behind? Is that the other roommates for the particular employee, and they're working at different companies? And that's it. Thank you very much. I hope that was helpful. Look forward to talking to you in the future.